Sonoma Raceway has seen it all, from sports cars to motorcycles to IndyCar, and of course, perhaps its most famous event, the yearly visit from NASCAR. But today, our 10 tops will be not quite as down south oriented. However, the racing in this series is expected to make it just as rough and tumble as we get ready to watch round 3 of the Porsche Owner Club eRacing League, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Ryan Jones. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sonoma's presence in the racing scene has been mainly American-centric. International racing doesn't often visit the track, so why don't we help our viewers around the globe by heading down to our track guide for more info. Welcome to Sonoma Raceway. One of California's most famous road courses, it resides just north of San Francisco. It's been host to a wide variety of styles of racing, including sports cars, Indy cars, motorcycles, and even drag racing. But in recent decades, it's become most well known for holding one of NASCAR's rare road course weekends. For most tracks, this cornucopia would be a stretch, but considering the array of 5 different layouts to choose from, it's quite easy for the circuit to be adapted to any series needs. Most of the layouts clock in at around 2 to 2.5 miles in length and always feature an impressive amount of elevation change. This means many of the corners present the driver with a blind entry or apex. Some of these have a very distinct visual look, making them instantly recognizable. Corners such as the chute and the final hairpin feature street course-like walls surrounding the track, while the carousel is both picturesque and challenging. With few long straights, passing is often considered very difficult, but it rarely leaves races with a lack of action. Mistakes can be easy to make, offering opportunities for the brave. And it's not just the track itself which is tough. The pit entry's narrow path requires precise driving for those looking to make up time and leapfrog their competitors during stops. With more than 40 years of racing under its belt, Sonoma has become a staple for West Coast race fans. And what could be better than a glass of vino on a sunny hillside while the sound of engines echo around you? Love some of the views that you can get around here. I haven't been here as a spectator, but I have to imagine with all the hills that there's got to be some great ones across the track. Ryan, why don't you give us the lowdown on some of the details, though, about this place?
Yeah, good evening, Joe. Good evening, everyone watching on from home. Running the carousel layout for Sonoma Raceway today. A layout that NASCAR returned to last year for their annual visit and adds a bit more technicality to the circuit with that long, sweeping downhill left-hander, which is turn 6. Utilizes some of the drag racing strip in between turn 6 and 7. Rest of the track is all normal 12 turns in length, 2.53 miles, 4 kilometers. Some good overtaking opportunities, but a track that promotes very good racing. A lot of opportunity for drivers to run side by side. A nice high-speed section down at the back of the circuit through the S's. It's a good fun racetrack. It's looks a bit drab sometimes, but I'm assured that at some points during the year, it's actually nice and green.
See, I think that's a myth. I've been told by that by Californians, and I'm not so sure I believe it. But of course, all the media we tend to see here is at the time that I guess it's generally not as green. So maybe someone can prove us wrong. Before we get into any more conspiracy theories, let's talk about our sponsors, such as Sunset Mortgage. Don't put your money in the bank, be the bank. Check them out today at sunsetcash.net. Also, Octavio Tequila. Celebrate now. For a great tasting tequila, go to octaviatequila.com and purchase today. Also, Century Financial Consultants, making the rest of your life the best of your life. You can check out their website at centuryretire.com. Now, we have a championship in this 4-round season, and well, with Connor Bloom having taken both the wins, of course he's up at the top, but Nico Silva keeping things consistent, and he's shown up today. He's not quite as high up in the qualifying currently. We'll get to that in a moment, but he could still make himself a presence here. Wilson Lawrence in third in the points, being pretty closely followed by both Hollander and McLaughlin in a tight tussle to settle out that 4th spot, too, down there with our top 5. Now, in case we have viewers who've never watched this series before, Ryan, why don't you give us the race details?
On a short 4-round season for the inaugural Sim Racing Series, the Porsche Owners Club. Riding the Porsche 718 GT4 Clubsport, which was introduced to iRacing a couple seasons ago, some way through last year. 30-minute race, so a very short, sharp event ahead of us. Open setup, which means everything that the drivers could change on these cars in real life, they can do that here in iRacing too, to try and find themselves a bit more speed or a bit more comfort around the racetrack.
And what I'm told is that this being a club, they actually have been sharing the setups pretty openly with one another. So seems like it is somewhat friendly competition among the drivers, trying to make sure that everybody gets up to speed. With qualifying underway, a name that is up top is an unfamiliar name in this series, at least to us so far, but apparently is pretty fast. We were warned ahead of time that Gregory Lefougue was going to be one to watch out for, and thus far in the warm-up and the qualifying, he has topped the times. Scott Adams, though, seems to have picked up the pace, and he finds himself second in the qualifying. Where is Corey, though? Because I know he showed up. Excuse me, not Corey, Connor, rather.
18th. He's back in 18th moment after getting in to the server a little bit late through qualifying. So Nico Silva's up in 5th place, so he'll be hoping it stays a bit similar to that.
Connor did
By the
get
time
in
the session runs.
Yeah, Connor got in pretty late, so I wonder if maybe that's cost him a little bit of pace here since he's still kind of getting up to speed compared to others. Heindel comes across and is not able to improve that time by. We're talking about Silva earlier. Another one to watch out for who's been quick is Justin Krickenberger. He's actually sitting 6th just behind Silva. So our fast drivers are up there, but not on the front rows. So Silva on row 3 along with Justin currently. Bruins there across the line as well to complete another lap. Here's Matthew Robinson, who sits on the outside of row 2. For a brief while, he was in second in the timing. Looks like he just started his first time lap of this set, as that one must have been a warm-up.
Jonathan Boilo, currently the final car in the top 10 positions, comes across, and for him, it's a 38.6. 2.6, he'll stay right there. Scott Trio as well, trying to find an improvement, not going to find it that time. Nielsen Lawrence was pretty fast last time out at the Las Vegas Speedway road course. He's currently sitting in 12th and going to need to find a bit more pace than that to try to improve in this qualifying session. Watch out for him as we get towards the race to potentially rekindle some of that pace.
Fug last time by, not able to improve on that 37.2. Speaking of watching out, one thing that I've kind of got my eye on for this race is that first lap into turn 2. We've seen it in IndyCar, we've seen it in NASCAR. That's a dangerous place to be, especially in the mid-pack. I mean, what can the drivers do to try to help themselves out through there on the first couple laps when everything's so tightly bound together?
Don't crash.
Good advice.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky run, isn't it? Because you start the track, if you stay on board here with Slavin, you'll see it. So you come through, the start-finish area, it's pretty tight with walls either side, no room for error, and then you sweep uphill to the left-hand side of the track. It entices you to brake extremely late, they jump on the brakes, and then suddenly you go into the right. It's a blind corner as you come over the crest, and you can see that it's just a tricky sequence of events, especially to start the race off when you're side by side, maybe even 3 wide. It's a very tricky place. You just got to hope that everyone's as willing as each other to be cautious.
I guess it takes some trust in your competitors for sure. Slavic currently down in 22nd. So we glance at Abrams as well, the number 728, looking to improve on a 38.6, but he's not going to get it that time, about a second off his best. California driver going to go around one more time. What about Lawrence, still trying to improve on that 12th? He was helped out by the problems we saw early in lap 1 last race. Managed to sneak through a lot of wrecks. And it seems maybe he's going to have to do that again because that lap didn't count. So he's still down in 12th and he's only got 4 minutes left to improve. Lefougue, who we've glanced at, still hasn't topped that 37.2. He's had a fair buffer as well, Ryan, over the rest of the field. Now that they've had time to get closer, it's still 6/10 between himself and Adams.
Yeah, he's doing very well at the moment. Still just under 4 minutes remaining for someone to try and get into that gap, but 6 tenths to second, a second back to 4th. He's doing pretty well at the moment. Alan Stad is not quite going to improve on his 19th place time at the moment. But yeah, Gregory Lafougue looking very comfortable right now. Connor Bloom has propped up into 3rd place, so he's suddenly found that pace that he was missing out on when he first joined the server.
I was just noticing that myself, actually. Glanced over at the timing screen, saw that 3rd place, and looks like it didn't take him that long to get up to speed. Carusillo is not able to find much as he's farther down at the bottom end of the field. Hayner down in 23rd. Oh, didn't get to see his time there. Looks like he stayed put as that was not an improvement.
Thomas Boilo just improved to a 38.154, puts him on the outside of row 2 alongside Connor Bloom. Good lap from him. Justin Krickenberger can't quite follow in his footsteps, will stay 8th.
Watching Nielsen Lawrence see what he's got, and unfortunately it's not a better time this time by. Lafougue once again trying to stretch out that gap to the rest of the field, and it's not going to be this time yet again. Looking Scott Adams, who's trying to challenge him, do well, he'll have a non-lap. It seems like that one got discounted for some reason. Oh, I thought I just saw someone jump up, and I'm trying to figure out who that was. Looks like Eric Oviat, potentially, who's now into 4th in the number 23. Very tight up there between 2nd and 4th place. Adams, Bloom, Oviat are all only separated, but barely over a 10th between the 3 of them.
Very close indeed. It's only a couple tenths back to 5th on down. It's very tight once you get away from the lead of the race, where qualifying race where Lafougue is streaking over that. Dustin Heindel, that's not a good lap for him. He's already 13 seconds off as he comes across the stripe. Daniel Carasillo try to find an improvement. Should find it here on this lap. A 42.7 puts him up the order. Peter Latier putting his first time down. That's just a bank a lap for him.
And Bloom has moved himself onto the front row, still about half a second back from Lafougue. He's been the man to beat so far this season, and Connor looks like he's going to have his hands full with Greg. As we watch Krickenberger try to get higher than 9th, shockingly low for Justin. And that 38.8 is not going to do it. He's still roughly a second off of the pole.
Just under a minute left in qualifying now, coming down to the end as Gregory Lafougue tries to find an improvement again. Doesn't find it there. He's going to have one more attempt to finish off this lap. Scott Adams there in 3rd place has been up there pretty much all session long, but he's been 6 tenths off all session long. Paul Newton, not a good lap for him.
And we should point out that it's actually quite hot here today. The track is 110 degrees Fahrenheit on the surface currently. So they're dealing with that California sun for sure, despite a very cool 67 degrees Fahrenheit. Ideal for the fans, not so great for the drivers. Robinson still in 6th after that last lap. 10 seconds left to go. If you're going to start a new one, you better get to that line soon. I'm not sure that Heindel will be able to do it because he's coming to it right now, and it's going to be very tight. He actually goes quickest for him, only puts him up to 26. Everything beyond this is going to be the checkered flag for the rest of our drivers. Salehi's going to abandon his Latier in the 582 down into the line. A 54.7 is his only time he's put in. A 44.2 is going to be much quicker. Here comes Krickenberger as well. 183, like I said, still down in 9th. The 38.3 is his best lap, but it's not going to give him any more position, sadly.
No, it is very tight up there from 2nd on down, so he stays where he is. Gregory Lafougue.
Quicker. By
Indeed.
a little bit. So it's now up to 8 tenths over Bloom. Where is Bloom, actually? He's coming through the S's right now, and he's pulling a little bit of a toe from another relatively quick driver, Nico Silva. This is Roban that we see on screen down in 26. Coming around that tricky hairpin with no runoff on the outside. So you better be able to get that car woed up. He's got a 40.4 for his fastest. Yeah, you're right.
was Bloom then. There's Alan Stad coming across with a 39.392, 700ths of his previous best. Here comes Connor Bloom to the stripe. It's not a good one, 38.6, so he doesn't improve. He's going to be starting on the outside of that front row unless someone else props up late.
Unfortunately, Silva kind of got in his way a little bit, I think, as he was coming up to the hairpin a little bit offline and covered him off a little bit. So Heindel comes across. That means that everybody has qualified and our grid is set here for round 3. So let's go through that starting order. Gregory Lefouque has come in with a splash, 8/10 over anybody else. And on the pole, Connor Bloom. He's gonna really have to try hard to see what he can do with Greg, but then traffic could play a part as this is a short lap. He'll start in second. Scott Adams on the inside of row 2 will be P3. Eric Oviat will be starting 4th, and Thomas Boilo will be P5. You've got Matthew Robinson in the 6th position, followed by James McLaughlin in 7th. Nico Silva, not as quick today, it seems. He's down in 8th. Same thing with Justin Krickenberger, vying for wins previously. He'll be starting in 9th, and Renning Brooms rounds out your top 10.
Just outside of those guys with Matt Hollander and Michael Russell, 11th and 12th, Paul Newton, Jacob Abrams on row 7, Nielsen Lawrence, not fighting the pace he had at Las Vegas, starts 15th at a Garrison Masters, Brian Salehi and Alan Stad. Michael Ost and Jonathan Golden running out your top 20 for this one.
21st goes to Michael Bolton with Jim Slavic starting in 22nd. Alexandra Hayner will be starting in 23rd. And Scott Trio will be P24 at the drop of the green. Savak Fajarian, 25th, followed by Michael Roban, who we saw still in that 26 after qualifying. Dustin Heindel as well, last one to cross. He's 27th with PJ Fulton in 28th. And then it's Ron Palmer in 29th, followed by Daniel Carusillo in 30th.
The last 6 drivers up on your screen, but there are only 2 that didn't set a time were Tim Smith and Bill Vogels with 36 car field around Sonoma Raceway here in California. This should be a very good race. This track always produces good action, Joe, and these Porsches are going to be more of the same, I expect.
And it is a standing start, so it really will be a rush up to turn 2 to that first braking zone. We've got Adams out there, and there's our top 2. Our front row lines up, Bloom and Lefouque. I think it's just about 3 or 4 more drivers, and we should get the lights up, and we go racing for 30 minutes here in round 3. Palmer now finds his way out there, and I think we lost Michael West. He was on the grid. Might be having some connection issues or didn't put the setup in that he wanted after qualifying. An easy mistake to make here. You can see all these Porsche Caymans getting ready to go around the kink here. So those who are on that turned part will have to be careful. With that, the lights come up. Green flag is out. And Gregory, once again, we got a car going. Connor Bloom, unfortunately, at the wrong place. And with how tight it is, are we going to get everybody managing to get through?
Nope.
Looks like it is at least panning out somewhat. Oh, we got another spin up front. Looks like that's Scott Adams in the 272. Sent a few cars scattering. But up at the front, the order now is Gregory Lefouque leading with Thomas Boilo in second place, but a long ways back in about 2 seconds back. And then Eric Oviat runs in third, giving chase as well.
Justin Krickenberger went for a wild ride off the start line, up and over that, a nice clean barrel roll. Nico Silva is trying to get around on the slow car, or the stationary car, just tagged at left rear, and Krickenberger tipped into a rollover. So Bloom, big trouble off the start line, the car going nowhere. And he's buried back in the pack. In fact, he's towed back to pit lane with damage to his left rear.
They do have a spare car, thankfully, with damage, so they can get back out there. That certainly puts them on the back foot. A number of drivers did have a few issues there on lap 1. Boileau's having some challenges. He's got Eric Oviat right behind him for that second place right now. And in fact, Eric is going to look to the inside as they come down to the hairpin. He's got the desired line. Boileau's not going to fight it. Maybe goes for the over-under, though, and he thinks about it. Can't quite sneak through. So it looks like the 23 is going to claim that P2.
Brian Saleki, I know the run he's had on lap number 1 from 17th up into 5th place. He comes across the stripe up 12 spots. Fantastic first count for him. So Jacob Abrams just in behind him. He's come up 8 spots as well. Some big movers on lap 1 after the jungle towards the front of the field, up at turn 1 and at the start line.
Absolutely. There's something to be said for survival. As we check on the 805, who's bringing along a couple cars behind him, including Lawrence, one of the drivers who briefly led last race. He's got Renning Bruins just behind him as they come out of turn 4, plunging down. And here's that very unique carousel that they've got. A lot of elevation change here and a very, very long turn.
The exit from this very long turn is crucial because you come out onto the drag strip. You can see there off the rear of Master's car, and then into the tight braking zone as Lawrence has to defend from Renning Bruins behind up into turn 8 and through into turn 9. Becomes a double right-hander those 2 corners, and then into the S's. Long sweeping corners, trying to keep up your momentum as fast as you can.
And so far, that momentum is working best for Masters as he actually pulls a decent gap ahead of both Lawrence and Bruins. They all start to spread apart here. We've still got Lefougue up at the front of the field. And that gap at this point, trying to figure out how far it is. It's already 5 seconds. Oviatt does not seem to have the pace, even though he's been able to move himself up into second. There you see the newcomer Lefougue over turn 2 and continuing to streak away.
Up 3 of 18 then with a 5-second margin, looking very solid out at the front at the moment. As we go and have a look at P11, Alan Stad coming under some pressure now from Michael Bolton. These two battling away up and through turn number 4. They'll dive down towards the infield, the carousel section now, onto the brakes to the right-hand side. And just behind them is Paul Newton too.
A little bit off that apex there in turn 4 from Bolton, unfortunately. That's going to cost him some time. Newton enjoys that, though, as it closes him in. In fact, he takes a little bit of a look down into the carousel, but can't have been a serious attempt. He was way too far back. We now hop on board with the 217, continuing to make progress forward, has gotten up to the back of him once again, showing his nose. But at 2 car lengths back, I'm not sure that he can really make that happen. Oh, maybe. Here goes Bolton wide once again, struggling in these corners. He's going to be able to accelerate away, but he is very much under threat.
He did. It's a very tricky corner, that one. Those two right-handers trying to get it pulled up. Very easy to run wide. And if you do run wide, though, it does set itself up nicely for the run down through the S's. So Bolton, in the end, comes out quite favourably from that. He pulls away from Paul Newton. Back up at P2, though.
Yeah.
Look at this. Eric Oviatt under all sorts of pressure from Boileau.
He's taking a look, but that long way around up the hill. Oh, it's shallow for Oviatt. Can he get the car woed up in time and get it turned in? He does. Boileau just can't quite take advantage, but both of them out of sorts as they come through the first few corners. Oviatt still defending well. Boileau can't quite find his way by. This is allowing Robinson to start to close ground. It's down to 2.7 seconds to 4th place. That is Boileau that you see in the silver machine. The light blue of Eric Oviatt, once again, too shallow into a corner. Tries to square it off, but he can't get the car to turn in. And here comes Boileau with a good run down the drag strip. This is a popular passing spot. Looks like Oviatt's going to cover off the inside. And even though he's good on the brakes, Thomas just can't quite find his way through.
He's all over him. Look, he's almost pushing him down through the S's, tucked right up under that little rear wing on the back of these Porsche GT4 machinery. Boileau pressuring as you ride on board with him, as he run down towards the hairpin, the final corner. Very easy to make a big lunge up the inside here. There's a couple car lengths back, and Oviatt just covers off the inside So Boilo lunges to the outside, actually got his car alongside him there. Very strong on the brakes. Looks to get the strong exit. But Oviatt doing a very good job of defending this spot right at the moment.
Kind of amazed that Oviatt's been able to hold him back this well, especially with how Boilo has been just diving that car into the corners. And actually, Oviatt's going to overshoot it once again. This time, he's not going to let him get away with it, as Boilo's going to be able to get side by side. He's on the wrong side of the track in the first part of this series of corners, but he's going to be on the correct side as it switches back to the right over the crest, and still he's denied by the 23.
This is a great racecraft between these two drivers to be this clean. They've now got a 10-second margin to your race leader after just 5 laps, and Robinson is running him down. He's just 9/10 behind him now. He is right there, and Salehi's coming with him too, so this could be a much bigger battle in just a few moments' time.
I think they're having too much fun to worry about the gap to Greg. They'd rather fight for second place. Oviatt still making life difficult as he tries to turn in. Unfortunately, that opens the door for Robinson as Boilo got caught out and snookered by the pink 27 car.
Boilo beat Robinson. Big move, and he has taken that away, and Boilo now will be left throughing and not taking the opportunity earlier, because now he's got 2 cars in front of him that he's going to want to get around. As Conor Bloom was officially retired from the race too, we should note after the start line incident. So let's see if Robinson can get by Oviatt a little bit quicker than Boilo could, or find a bit more success in it. As Boilo's got to be careful he doesn't slack off here, because Salehi is right there with him too, continuing that charge from 70 from the start.
Matthew, show him how it's done and get up to the back of Oviatt. Riding on board there with Boilo. Meanwhile, got a little bit of a battle between Silva and Newton. Silva much farther down the order than we're used to. He did make up some positions. He just actually got by Newton. Let's take a look at how that happened. Just got a good run out of 10, it looks like.
Yeah, from a couple car lengths back, show to the nose. Very cool, calm and collected. On the brakes perfectly, up the inside, textbook move. Newton sidesteps him too, didn't fight that one quite as hard as he could have, so that puts Silva up into 13th onto the back of those guys. Let's go back to P3, because Oviatt now has managed to pull a 2.5 seconds over Matthew Robinson and Thomas Boilo. Robinson holding him up after getting by him.
How aggressive can he afford to be, though? You mentioned Salehi just behind him, hunting and waiting. He gets a poor exit off the hairpin, though. So that at least gives Boilo an opportunity as he thinks about it through. The S is not typically a place where you see passes made, and certainly doesn't go off this time. Yeah. He's going to get another shot down into the other hairpin on the other side of the track. Looks like once again, oh, and he leaves the door open again. Salehi gonna mug him down into the corner, and Boilo is just getting schooled, unfortunately, by everybody behind him as he tries to attack the car in front.
Poor old Thomas Boilo's getting mugged out there, isn't he?
He's certainly finding himself under attack just when he thinks he needs to be on the offense. He's got to go to defense, and well, he's going to take a little bit of a look on Salehi into turn 3, but he doesn't quite have the overlap for it. As they come over the crest, he's awful close down to the heavy braking at turn 4. Stays with it. Good news for him is that they've got a bit of a gap back to Abrams behind him, so maybe it won't happen again. We'll see. Commentator's curse notwithstanding. Oh, and a big slide from Boilo. That will put him under threat now from Abrams as the tires seem to be gone. Once again, a lot of wheel spin coming out of the carousel. Abrams now around the outside as they come up to the end of the drag strip. Can he find the grip around there? Doesn't look like it's quite there, but he actually guns it well, keeping the momentum up, and indeed another position down for the driver who used to be in second place. Boilo falls to 6th.
He's got Michael Russell just in behind him now as well, so the rapid fall down the order doesn't seem to show like it's going to stop. It's like he's on an elevator, and he can't get it to stop going down, can he? On an express route down to the basement at the moment.
Really is. He's going to try and find his way back, it looks like, as they come across the line one more time. 134 sizing up the 728, but he's not nearly close enough to take an attack into turn 2. Still, he closes mid-corner by a significant margin, showing a lot of pace. Not too far behind them, Garrison Masters, who we were watching earlier, still dealing with Rennie Bruns. In the black and blue car that we ride on board with now, the white and black machine. Oh, overshooting the corner a little bit there, Bruns, and has to roll it up. Make sure not to get into the tail of the 805. They take it down through the carousel as well. Very different lines between the two drivers. Bruns looks like his exit's going to suffer because of it as he falls back once more. Very, very close, and we're just about halfway through this race at this point. So what we're seeing from many of the drivers seems like a good implication of how this race is going to go unless something drastic happens to most of them. Bruns just struggling a little bit in these quick corners on the back half of the course, and certainly not going to be within range, even though he's quite strong on the binders.
Almost it was right rear there on the entry into the corner. They took two very different lines and almost came together right in the middle. Masters' right rear would have been covering its face there with Rennie Bruns raging up on him. Definitely got the pace, but does seem that overtaking's been very difficult on this track today, as he is so much stronger on the brakes up at a turn 2 that time by. His next opportunity is not going to be probably still turn 7 just after the carousel.
It's very reminiscent of another driver, Boileau, who keeps closing in on people in the braking zone and then not being able to do anything. In fact, you see him on screen right now with Wassell chasing. Oh, losing the car in front of them. Abrams is going to smack the tire barrier. So that'll gift both of them positions as he slides across the track scarily in front of Lawrence.
Replay on board then with Jacob Abrams as he rode down to the left-hand side, up and over the crest. The car was sliding alongside, eventually tried to correct it, and then it snapped back to the right into those tyres. Back across track, stay with the replay. Look how close this was. Very close. Now, we just saw it at the end there. It was very close to getting collected by two more.
That'll certainly give Lawrence a wake-up call, and he keeps going and is promoted to 7th with that incident. Let's head up to P2 once again. Robinson seems to have gotten the car underneath now. Oviatt has been a little bit under threat.
He is. He was 3/10 quicker on the previous lap. On this lap, it's 6/10 quicker for Matthew Robinson. So he's really starting to reel him in at the moment. Side by side for P10 in this one. P11, sorry, Alan Sad and Nico Silva. Silva just went for a big lunge up at the final corner. Drew alongside him on the wrong side of the track there. Turn 1, he decided to back out of it. He's right there with him. And under a lot of pressure, Alan Stad at the moment in this one. Oh! Ahmed Ambutsimian right in the middle of the racetrack sends cars scattering.
Yeah, backing up, unfortunately, where probably he shouldn't have. So we watched, he was already off track and then wasn't really paying attention on his re-entry here. Looks like it was a single car incident.
Yeah, 2-year on the throttle, spins it around, and then just, I mean, why?
I could tell you, I feel like we'd have a lot fewer problems on iRacing. But let's go back to Nico Silva, because that battle hasn't gone away. Silva's still hounding the number 619. And that would be Stad in that orange and blue machine that you see on your screen. The yellow one, that is Nico Silva. The 325, just behind him as they come through the S's. Now down through the scary turn 10. Not much runoff to the outside of that corner. He stays with it. He's less than a car length back. He might have this, but he doesn't stick his nose in.
It's definitely close enough to have a look and try and go for the lunge. Don't know whether it would have worked off, but works out. But I would have gone for it. It's also why I would have been out of the race by now, but you know.
Exactly. Probably why we're up in the commentator's booth. Still as they chase their way up the hill. He's keeping him in check just behind them. It's actually getting close between Bolton and Newton for 12th as well. That's Bolton in the red car. The blue machine is Paul Newton. So two pairs of battles here in the mid-pack, really going at it. Lost a few cars today, sadly. I think we're up to 11 DNFs currently. Big look to the inside there from Newton. Doesn't quite work out, though, as we continue to ride on board with Bolton. We actually have to go up to the cars ahead of them because Silva's got his best run yet. There you can see it on screen, and he's very good on the brakes. Down to the inside, tries to turn in, but Stad's car is there. Can't make it disappear. Tries to get the run around the outside. We've seen others do, but looks like Allen has got a much better job of keeping them fended off through that hairpin.
Ranged up around the outside, didn't he? Showing his supremacy up on the brake to see the flames and the heat off the back of the Porsche shooting out through the exhaust. Here we go. Silva gets to the inside and gonna cover off though Alan Stad. There's gonna be a bit of a bump as Silva gets into the back and on the entry. Stad moved over very late to cover that off, and now Silva gets to his left rear, almost hooks him into the fence somehow. They both keep on going with no one getting spun around. And as they do battle, look out for the guys behind Bolton, Newton and Abrams. They're really starting to reel these guys in now.
Things getting a little bit rough here as once again Silva nearly getting into the back of Stad, but manages to get his foot down well enough on the brakes. How much more can they do this before someone pays for it in bodywork? As we're watching this, I'll give a shout if we need to go to fourth place because it looks like Boilo's got the car under control now and is trying to chase down Salehi. Oh, and we have a spin for Robinson. Robinson goes around, loses multiple places. This is in the hairpin after the drag strip.
Wait, I just saw the replay. Look at this, fellas. This was wild for Robinson. Coming out of turn 7. He's just misjudged the entry of the corner here, Joe, or he's tried to go for a big lunge, but either way, he's ended up on the curb on the inside of 8. It's a big curb.
Oh! Wow.
Bunny hopping.
Clearly he needs to take an investment in extreme sports because he's not afraid to get some air. Now he's dealing with Lawrence behind him. This is for 6th place. Nielsen, who we saw gain a lot of positions last week, has gained quite a few this week once again from 15th to 7th, and he's eyeing 6th. Up and over, turn 2 one more time. The 302 trying to threaten him, get in his mirrors, and very big in his mirrors actually. Look at how he's closing up in these corners.
It's Brian Salehi coming under all sorts of pressure from Thomas Boilo, who's finally recovering from that lackluster first half of the race. Car spot on the inside. That's Alexander Hayner, who's a lap down, stationary there, stuck with nowhere to go. Boilo just lost a bit of time up through the carousel that time, but if he gets close through the S's and keeps the speed up through there, he might be close enough for a look into the hairpin, Joe.
Almost seems like if Thomas can suss out those corner exits, he'd be wicked fast, but he's been suffering today.
Get the traction down in any car. Might be relatively low powered compared to some of the race cars here on the iRacing service, but still tricky to get the traction down, especially if you've got all the assists unavailable to you. So
Come down into the hairpin one more time. Low is closing in. Can he get the throttle down? He tries, and they almost make contact. Salehi holds his line as Boilo has to take evasive action. And this has brought Wassel into the mix as they come up the hill. Boileau's actually looking very close here. Oh, and he has to get out of it because he's just got no place to go. It's a narrow line on that entry.
You can see why turns 1 and 2 is a trouble spot. There's a lot of different braking markers that these drivers tend to be using, and it's causing some big checkups from the following cars as they try to avoid getting into the back of the guy in front of them. And Boilo there was certainly trying to avoid getting into the back of Salehi because he got real close, up into the carousel, not close enough for lunch here. It's the long, sweeping left-hander up onto the drag strip they'll come. Good exit for Boilo, it looks like. It's not quite going to be enough to get it up the inside at turn 7, barring a monumental lunge. Shows a nose, but he's not close enough. He's trying to put off Salehi by running those slightly shallower entries, just showing a nose, showing him he's there, trying to fill those mirrors.
Doesn't seem to be working any of the mind games on the number 15 because he's just been steady as she goes. Now, he's a little bit off there through the S's. And with how close Boilo is, how risky is he willing to be? They come up to turn 10. Oh, he actually makes a little bit of contact, has to back out of it. He was trying to stay as close as possible, and it's backfired. Here comes Wassel. Wassel takes a look. Then he comes back to the racing line, thinking twice of it. What an adventure this has been for that silver car. 134. Once again, did he learn his lesson last time? Yes, he did. He's a little bit better through 1 and 2 behind Salehi. Didn't manage to run into him this time. And as they come through 3A and 3 down the hill into the heavy braking of turn 4. Everybody trying to weave their cars through this technical portion of the track, setting themselves up for better opportunities later.
I don't know what the American fixation is with calling corners turn 6, turn 6A. That's what they're heading through now. Turn 3 and turn 3A, or other tracks with an A and a B. Just add corners. Is there some sort of a financial restriction? If the more corners you have, the more money it costs to run the racetrack.
Don't ask me. I like corners with names myself, but then I guess I'm not a typical American. As, wow, once again, Boilo just cannot find his way off the corner strong enough, and Wassel closes in once again while Salehi just stretches away. Behind them, Robinson, who's recovered, is starting to close the gap on this trio.
He is. That's him coming down to the back straight towards the final corner. He is 1.7 seconds adrift of Marcel. As you can see in front, there was almost contact between Boilo and Salehi. And he's dragging Nielsen Lawrence with him too, is Robinson. So this could be a 5-car scrap in a moment's time.
If he could just get to the other side of the car, he might have an opportunity, but every single time, with the walls on either side of that front stretch, Salehi's got him covered. So he'll stay put. Salehi looking at a podium here today with Boilo in 4th. Back down through 5 one more time. Are they going to get some friends pretty soon here? For these 4 laps to go, we're less than 4 minutes, well, just about 4 minutes left on the clock. Once again, very different lines here between the chrome car and the green car. This time, he's right up behind him. He is close enough if he wanted to use that good braking that he's been showing. Oh, and he's getting squeezed down to the apex. They come together. Is Wassel going to get both of them? He gets 1, but not 2. Boilo finally gets himself up into 3rd with a little bit of a rude shove to get Salehi off to the side.
That was a bold move. Impatience finally breaks through for Boilo, and the gap wasn't really there, but it made it stick. Bit of a hip check, and Salehi now forced back in behind Wassel. And Robinson all over the back of him. It's a 5-car scrap now with Lawrence there too. Up into the final corner of the hairpin. Robinson almost into the back of him trying to show the nose.
Whoa, and he loses traction. Thankfully, there's a lot of parking lot over there. He is going to be able to continue, but he loses the spot to Lawrence. Let's watch the onboard. I'm not going to lie, Bayern's moves twice now. That's a very late move right there on the replay. That's a little suspect to me. Kind of got him into trouble with Boylo, and he paid for it. Almost got him in trouble with Robinson, but came out the other side retaining 5th. A little bit farther down, we haven't looked at 10th in a while, and well, there's something of a train forming here behind Stad. We were watching Bolton chase him before, being joined by Abrams. Not too far back, Paul Newton is closing in. Laps are running out if they want to take these positions. It seems like there's been a lot of drivers really stuck today, Ryan.
Yeah, it's been tough to pass out there today. But racetrack often brings that, which has often provided a lot of great action because you get these trains of cars with drivers eventually losing their patience, like it looks like Boylo might have just then.
Have to remember that those top 3 positions do offer up cash payouts. So that's probably why we're seeing them so antsy when they get up to the front to try and make those up. I'm right on board with Abrams, continuing to chase through the S's. You really get a sense, I feel like, with this roof cam of how much the cars move around underneath them.
Yeah, most certainly you do.
Oh!
Oh no!
Abrams going to say thank you very much and take both spots.
That's reminiscent of Boylo's move, isn't it?
It was. I don't know if it was intentional. I think he just locked him up a little bit there on the way in. So that gives us a chance now to jump back up towards Salehi, Lawrence, and Robinson. Still working on settling the top 5 positions. Keeping half an eye on the leader to figure out when that clock, I know it says by laps there, but obviously this is scheduled by time. And the 30 minutes is very close to being up soon. In fact, I believe white flag is going to come out this time by for Lafougue, who now has an astonishing 30 seconds over Oviatt.
Where has he been in the first 2 rounds to curtail the run from Connor Bloom? Bloom didn't get much further than 3 meters away from the starting grid, but still, would have been very good to see those 2 go at it from the front row into this one.
Maybe we'll get it in the finale at Auto Club. Down to the inside, Lawrence, another one trying to take a lunge. That's been a popular move, but it's going to work out much better. Oh, and behind him, Salehi and Robinson off the track after they come together.
Salehi lost the traction on the outside, and as he spun, he cleaned up Robinson as well. Unlucky for both, as that's a big lunge and a big hit. 2 cars around, that looks like Bolton.
That was Bolton that we're watching live here. Oh, and they're going to come together again with more damage as they smack into the wall. That was a little clumsy, unfortunately. Our leader, though, has been smooth as silk. The number 19 is going to taste the wine here today because no one has been able to bother him. With Connor Bloom having the issues that Ryan mentioned at the very start of the race, didn't ever seem like anybody had the pace to challenge him. So as he comes down into the final corner, final couple of corners, I should say, through the hairpin and out of turn 12, the checkered flag waves for Gregory Lafougue, winning on his first time out.
Great job for him to get that done. P2 battle, though, looking pretty close here. Eric Oviatt has come under all sorts of pressure from Thomas Boylo, who was 9/10 quicker last time by. He's all over his rear bumper now. Oviatt's going to have to defend the inside. but he's slow down the straight. Here comes Boilo to the outside, trying to sweep the long way round. He can't do it. Can he go for the crossover? He can't. He's gone too wide, and Oviat is going to fend him off from a huge late charge from Boilo to come across second and third.
Just behind them, off the cash paying positions, Wassel finishes fourth. Lawrence with a top 5. I think he proved us wrong with all our naysaying earlier on. Bruns with a nice run as well, up to 6th position. Got a little bit of a battle for 9th as they come to the line. Masters and Abrams are still close together after all this, but it looks like Masters is the one going to come out on top. Abrams rounds out the top 10. Then from there, not sure that we have many battles still going. Looks like we're only going to have 14 drivers finishing on the lead lap, and Matt Hollander will be the last of them. That's going to close us out, but not with the broadcast quite yet. We've got the post-race show coming, and we're going to have the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Stick around because on screen you'll see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to Sonoma Raceway Round 3 here. And the Porsche Owners Club eRacing League was a fun one. Lots of great action out there, side-by-side racing, but not for Gregory Lefougue, who really didn't race anybody except lap traffic all day. A 31-second gap at the end of a 30-minute race. That tells you everything you need to know. Lefougue is incredible out there. Oviat still managed second, even though he's slow at the end for some reason, not sure why. And Boilo nearly snatched that second place from him, but still managed to climb back to third despite being passed by multiple cars early on. Michael Wassel from 12th to 4th for him is one-upped by Nielsen Lawrence, 15th to 5th. And you've got Renning Bruns in 6th place with Matthew Robinson finishing in 7th. Unfortunately, multiple issues in his race cost him what could have been a much better finish. Brian Salehi was P8 with Garrison Masters in 9th, and Jacob Abrams rounds out your top 10.
Paul Newton coming in 11th, Nico Silva not finding the same pace from races rounds 1 and 2, coming home 12th, ahead of Alan Stad, Michael Bolton, and BJ Fulton. Matt Hollander was 16th. Scott Adams got caught up at the start. Scott Trio, Civic, Fagarian, and Peter Latier, the top 20.
Then we've got Michael Roban finishing 21st with Jonathan Colden in 22nd. Ron Palmer finishes P23 and Daniel Carusillo in 24th. From there on down, you've got DNFs on down to 36 with a lot of drivers having issues today. It is a very difficult track to race, but looks like our second place finisher, Eric Oviat, survived to the end. And Eric, we noticed you were slow at the end of the race. Did you get some damage where Boilo was trying to overtake you, or what happened there?
I don't think I had any with him. I think I picked some up right at the start with Connor not getting off the line. So I didn't even make it to the flag without hitting somebody. And then, midway through, had a little bit of damage side to side when we were passing some lap traffic. I think Robinson was behind me and went door to door with the car that ended up getting black flagged. But no, I was taking my time. I was watching the relative. And every time they'd catch up, get about 2 seconds back, second and a half back, I'd kind of throw in a couple good ones. But, there was no chance of catching first place. I didn't want to throw it away,
That
trying
makes
to go too fast.
sense. And we saw at the start, you mentioned that obviously Connor Bloom caused a little bit of a scare there, but there were also multiple other spins too that you had to work your way through. I mean, how do you manage yourself, especially on a track like this that's a little bit notorious for the first lap being kind of scary?
Yeah, these cars have some traction control and ABS, and when it looked like it was going to be a standing start, we don't even have a warm up. I cranked the traction control up to about 10 and ran through the first three corners with it like that. I've been doing that all week, practicing, starting it up midway and then backing it off after about 2.5, 3 laps, and helps kind of solve some of those first lap blues on the cold tires.
See that you're also a private driver coach for hire. Uh, what tracks do you typically give some lessons around? Do you have a local haunt that you are able to find people speed for?
Sonoma's not one of them. It's the only one in California really I haven't been to, but with POC, we spend a lot of time at Willow Springs and Button Willow, and right now I'm coaching out at Apex Speed out here in Arizona. I just moved out to, so anywhere on the West Coast. Sonoma excluded, so I had to spend a lot of time learning that one this week.
Well, best of luck. Hopefully, we'll get some new business on that soon with all that's going on. Congratulations on the podium, and hopefully, we'll get to talk to you next week during the Enduro.
There we go. Right on. Thanks, guys.
There, Goviat, second place finisher. Next up, looks like we got third place finisher Thomas Boilo, and Ryan has caught up with him.
Well, you had a roller coaster of a race today, Tom. You were up and down, and talk us to the start of the race because you lost quite a few spots in.
Yeah,
Some of those up.
it was like you said, definitely a roller coaster of a race. I knew my setup was definitely more set up for the long haul, so especially with that standing start, those cold tires were sketchy for the first couple laps, so I was probably a little bit too conservative. I opened the door way too many times and let too many cars past. But I knew a 30-minute race, especially on the sims, a long race, so I knew I had pace in the long haul, and I think I did some of my better laps with 2 or 3 laps to go. So it was definitely more of a battle than I had anticipated. Watching Connor getting taken out on the start was something I did not expect. I knew he was going to be one of the front runners, so that took a little bit of a burden off my back, and I just had to put my head down and try to make as few mistakes as possible.
Yeah, well, in terms of coming back, you did a good job. You were stuck behind Salehi for quite some time, and then a big lunge, bit of contact. What are your thoughts on that move?
I definitely think it was definitely an aggressive move. Like you said, I had way more pace than him. I knew if I could get around him, then I would be able to start stretching that gap and catch up to Eric in P2. And that was one of the big zones that I knew I could make a move. So he had been blocking the past couple laps. I already had a little bit of a run coming off of six, so I showed him my nose. And I was already committed to the brakes. He started to move over after he had committed to the brakes as well. So my only option was to try to throw two over into the dirt and leave my left side tires on the curb. And I definitely didn't mean to make contact with him. I was hoping he would give me a little bit more space there, knowing that I was already committed. So, like you said, it was probably a bit aggressive, but I had to do what I had to do to continue to try to catch that P2.
We thought once Connor Bloom got taken out off the start line that it might open up a big battle for the win. Gregory Lafougue just run away with a massive margin. Gee, who was he?
So I know Lafuge. He was Connor Bloom's teammate actually back when they run in Continental Tire Championship together. So I knew he was immediately going to be fast. I didn't think he was going to be as fast as he was necessarily. We had all kind of been running in the mid to low 38-second bracket, and he immediately went out and practiced and qualifying and threw down some 37. So I knew it was going to be tough to catch up with him. I didn't know what his long stretch pace was going to be. I was hoping he was going to make a few mistakes and we would be able to catch up to him if we didn't get too racy. But that didn't prove to be the case. We definitely got a little bit too racy behind him from second all the way back to about eighth, and he just ran away with it. So awesome drive by him.
Yeah, well, good job to you yourself, just coming across in third place, almost second at the end. You got any what do you want to give a shout out to or any sponsors?
So I don't have any sponsors for the series necessarily. Connor Bloom is one of my good buddies. He's actually the one that introduced me to the series. And obviously a big shout out to Matt Hollander and all the guys with the POC. They've allowed me to compete in the series, which has just been an absolute blast. I've absolutely been enjoying myself and really looking forward to round 4. Hopefully I can continue to show the pace that I have and we can challenge for that win.
Well, thank you for joining us up here in the booth, and good luck for the final round of your inaugural season next week.
All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
That was third place finisher rather, Boy Low. And next we have fifth place finisher Nielsen Lawrence joining us. Neil, you qualified in 15th. We were talking all this doom and gloom for you that things aren't looking as good this week as last week, and then you come in with a top 5. It seems like qualifying might not be your focus so much as racing. Is that correct?
Well, that's what happens when you guys count me out. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, this week was just really busy for me in my private life, with work and doing a bunch of side work for people. So I really didn't get a chance to practice near as much as I did throughout the week as I did at Vegas and Laguna. But qualifying's really never been my strong suit, and this track just accentuated that. It just made it much more difficult.
And now, normally I'd say that it seems you've got sort of an Elaine Prost method, just kind of working your way through as everybody else falls by the wayside. But looking at your race, you had some good fights in there as well. You had some nice aggressive moves to try and get some of those.
Yeah, it was a really tough race. There was a lot of carnage, a lot of people spinning off, almost taking me out. But it was a really really good race. I was able to pick a few spots where I could make some moves to get up, which put me in a good spot for the end of the race. And just like you said, this is really good for my championship points. Unfortunately for Nico and Matt Hollander, right? They had a really rough race, but that allows me to win a couple points and look forward to the enduro where hopefully I have a little bit more speed.
Yeah, and that might play to your strengths there since there's more time to race. One of the drivers before mentioned that he thought 30 minutes was a relatively long race here. So obviously, since we're increasing the length next round, do you have much experience with going a little bit longer here in the sim?
Not really. 30 minutes is it goes quick when you're actually racing, but I'm sure 70 minutes is going to really test the mental fortitude of all the drivers in this field, and I think it'll help even out some of the playing field. It'll be a race of attrition and not making mistakes, hitting your marks and keeping a good consistent pace.
Absolutely. Well, again, congratulations on a top 5, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you out at Auto Club.
Thanks, guys.
It's Nielsen Lawrence, 5th place. And it looks like after asking who is Greg LaFouge, Ryan is going to get that answer because he's caught up with him.
Well, I could tell you one thing. He had a 30-second margin, and he's very quick. Other than that, Greg, you were... Well, it was a quiet race for you.
Well, hello guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you there loud and clear, mate.
All right, great. Well, great to be on your program, and it was awesome to be part of this race. A little bit of myself. I've been racing in IMSA for the last 10 years, and World Challenge as well. We won the World Challenge Championship in GT4 last year with my teammate Sean. It's been awesome to be part of this race.
Yeah, well, first time out this week in this series. I haven't seen you for the first 2 weeks, so it was kind of a unknown quantity coming into the race, but put it on pole by quite the margin and running away with it. Did you expect to be that fast out there? Were you thinking maybe someone like Connor Bloom was going to challenge you, or what your expectations heading into this one?
Well, I know that Connor is a super quick driver, so I was expecting him to be right there. And unfortunately, he got taken out in turn 1. But Sonoma is my home track. I've been instructing back at the Jim Russell School and Sim Raceway now, and so I have a lot of track knowledge there. And I've been coaching a couple guys, Scott and Matt, around there. So I felt like I had a good handle on the track. The car is definitely a little dicey on the first few laps, but it's a car for the long run. So just I guess using my home track advantage.
Yeah, most certainly. utilize that pretty well. In terms of next week, we head to another great racetrack for the final race of the season. Are you gonna come back and try to go 2 from 2?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. We introduced multi-class racing for next week, so that's going to be interesting to see how that works. The GT3 Cup car is definitely one of the harder car to drive on iRacing. No eights whatsoever. So we'll see how it goes for 70 minutes. And I think Auto Club Speedway is probably a little more of a Connor Bloom kind of track because he's living down there. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, best of luck for that. Before we let you go, is there anyone that gets it done for you? Any sponsors you want to give a shout out to?
Well, I'm racing for Cameron Racing. So shout out to these guys. Hopefully they're doing well during this break, and that's about it.
Well, thank you for joining us, and good luck for the final race of the season.
Great, thank you.
That was our winner here today. Clearly, someone that everybody's going to have a target on next week, hoping to try and beat him if he does show up. But that's going to end our interviews, and we're going to close out with some thank yous to our sponsors once again, starting with Sunset Mortgage. Don't put your money in the bank, be the bank. Check them out today at sunsetcash.net. Also, Octavio Tequila. Celebrate now. For a great tasting tequila, go to octaviotequila.com and purchase today. As well, Century Financial Consultants, making the rest of your life the best of your life. You can check out their website at centuryretire.com. Big thanks to the Porsche Owners Club for bringing us on for this coverage, and also a thank you goes to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. And thanks to the team today, Sean, Ryan, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support us, you can find our merchandise store at gsrc.storenvy.com. We have a link in the description below, where you also might want to hit that subscribe button and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. Next race, as we mentioned, it's going to be the big one, the endurance race at Auto Club. It's their homage to the Le Mans 24 Hours. That'll be Saturday, May 9th at 10:15 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar, including the New Zealand 2K Cup coming up in just a couple hours. Until next time, though, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.